The sound of the bathroom door swinging open shattered the morning's usual tranquility. William Davis, a formidable name in the financial world, stepped in, his mind still entangled with numbers and projects. But then everything before him dissolved in an instant. Instead of the familiar space he expected, his eyes fell upon a slender figure, wrapped in nothing but a thin towel. The young woman's gaze lifted, devoid of embarrassment or fear, only hatred. Hatred? William froze, his hardened heart skipping an unexpected beat. This was not the kind of woman he was accustomed to encountering. This was something else entirely. William Davis, the man the entire city looked up to, a billionaire of immense wealth and influence, had just endured a long night battling figures and charts. He needed a peaceful morning to recharge, to prepare for the fierce corporate battles awaiting him. His private bathroom, an oasis of muted tones and the faint aroma of essential oils, had always been his sanctuary for regaining balance. But today, that peace had been shattered. As the bathroom door swung open, William nearly walked straight in, his thoughts still adrift. Then he stopped cold. Every one of his senses snapped to attention. Before him, instead of the pristine white bathtub or the gleaming gold-plated showerhead, stood a woman. She stood there, in the vast expanse of the bathroom, like a wildflower lost in a royal garden. The pure white towel clung to her slender form, barely concealing her delicate curves, yet revealing just enough to pique any man's curiosity. Her long, jet-black hair dripped with water, strands clinging to her smooth porcelain skin. But what truly immobilized William was not her fragile beauty, it was her eyes. Dark, deep, bottomless eyes stared up at him. There was no shyness, no flustered reaction to being caught in such a vulnerable state, nor was there the fear he often saw in those who faced his power. Instead, those eyes burned with fury. Hatred? William could hardly believe it. Throughout his life, he had encountered countless women. They flocked to him like bees to honey, models, actresses, heiresses. All of them gazed at him with admiration, desire, or, at the very least, curiosity. Never before had anyone dared look at him like this. "Who are you?" William's voice was low, carrying the natural authority of a man accustomed to being in control. He wasn't used to repeating himself, and even less accustomed to being ignored. The woman remained silent, her gaze locked onto him as if trying to pierce through the carefully constructed walls he had spent years fortifying. Her silence wasn't one of fear, it was a silent defiance. "I asked, who are you?" William's voice grew sharper, his patience beginning to wane. He had no time for foolish games, and even less tolerance for such blatant intrusion into his personal space. Finally, the woman spoke. Her voice was clear, but chillingly cold. "I am Olivia." "Olivia?" William frowned. The name was unfamiliar. He didn't recall hiring a housekeeper by that name. "What are you doing in my bathroom?" "I'm doing my job." Olivia's tone remained unchanged. "Cleaning." "Cleaning?" William let out a dry chuckle. "At this hour? And in that state?" His gaze flicked briefly over the thin towel before returning to her eyes, still brimming with hostility. "Do you take me for a fool?" "I don't think anything at all," Olivia replied flatly, standing her ground without any attempt to cover herself or step back. "I'm simply doing my job. If you don't like it, you can fire me." Her words caught William off guard. Fire her? This woman dared to challenge him? Dared to speak to him with such blatant disregard? In this mansion, everyone bowed before him, obeying his every command without question. And yet, this woman, it was no longer just the hatred in her eyes that intrigued him. Her defiant attitude, her astonishing composure in this situation, it all ignited a burning curiosity within him. He wanted to know who she was. He wanted to understand why she looked at him with such loathing. And more than anything, he wanted to uncover what lay beneath that cold, thorny exterior. "Fire you?" William repeated, a smirk ghosting across his lips. But it wasn't a smirk of anger, it was one of unexpected amusement. "I don't think so. Not today." Olivia's lips curled into a bitter smile. "I don't care. But I do." William took a step forward, closing the distance between them. He could feel the heat radiating from her skin, the charged tension thick in the air. "I want to know why you look at me that way." Olivia remained silent for a moment, her eyes never wavering. Then she spoke, her voice hoarse, as though suppressing a storm of emotion. "Because I despise men like you." "Men like me?" William arched an eyebrow. "And what exactly do you mean by that?" "The rich, the powerful, the ones who think they can buy everything." Olivia's words dripped with scorn. "The ones who look down on others, who have no idea what it's like to struggle for a living." William listened without interruption. No one had ever spoken to him this way before. But strangely, he wasn't angry. If anything, he was intrigued. Her words were like fire, igniting something buried deep within him, something long dormant. "You think I'm that kind of man?" he asked, his voice softer now. "I don't think, I know," Olivia answered without hesitation. "I've seen too many like you." "Then why are you here?" William pressed, his curiosity growing. "If you despise men like me, why work for me?" Olivia lowered her head slightly, her dark hair falling over her face, concealing her expression. "I have no choice," she murmured. "I need the money." Her admission silenced William. He studied her, trying to decipher the emotions hidden behind that fiery glare. He realized that beneath the hardened exterior, there was pain, a soul weighed down by bitterness and resentment. "Olivia," he said, his voice uncharacteristically gentle. "I don't know why you hate me, but I want to understand. I want to know your story." Olivia met his gaze again, her eyes still filled with resentment, but now tinged with something else, hesitation, uncertainty. She couldn't fathom why this man, a billionaire who had everything, would want to hear her story. She didn't believe for a second that someone like William Davis could genuinely care about a mere housemaid like her. And yet, deep within, she felt an unfamiliar stir. His gaze, though still laced with power and arrogance, held something different. Something sincere? "My story isn't worth telling," Olivia said, her tone guarded. "I think it is," William countered, his eyes unwavering. "I think it's very much worth telling." And in that moment, in the quiet tension of the bathroom, between hatred and curiosity, between power and poverty, a fateful encounter had begun. An encounter that would change both their lives in ways neither of them could yet imagine. Olivia remained silent, her dark brown eyes still scrutinizing William as if trying to decipher the true nature of the man before her. His unexpected proposition left her bewildered. Why would a billionaire like him want to hear the story of a lowly maid? Was this some sort of cruel joke, a way to mock and humiliate her? "My story is nothing special, sir," Olivia said cautiously, her voice still tinged with hesitation, though it had softened slightly. "Just an ordinary tale, not worth your attention." "But I want to pay attention," William replied, his voice deep and unexpectedly sincere. He stepped closer, not to bridge the physical distance, but to narrow the invisible gap between them. "I can sense that behind your strong exterior lies a soul filled with unspoken burdens. I want to understand, what has made you look at me with such hatred?" Olivia lowered her head slightly, her long black hair partially covering her face. She wasn't accustomed to this kind of gentleness from him. Until now, she had always believed that wealthy men like William knew nothing but arrogance and coldness. But his eyes, his voice, they didn't seem insincere. Could it be that behind his powerful facade, William Davis was just another human being, with emotions and curiosity like anyone else? "Sir," Olivia hesitated, her voice faltering. "My story might disappoint you." "Why do you think that?" William asked, his gaze never leaving her. He noticed that Olivia's guarded demeanor had eased slightly, replaced by an internal conflict, hesitation, uncertainty. "Because it's not beautiful at all," Olivia murmured bitterly. "It's filled with pain, loss, and injustice." "I am not afraid of pain and loss," William responded firmly. "I've been through enough. And I believe that even in the saddest stories, there are always valuable lessons." "I want to hear your story, Olivia. Not out of curiosity, but because I want to understand you better." William's words made Olivia look at him again. This time, her gaze was no longer filled with sharp resentment, but had softened. There was still doubt in her eyes, but also, was it a glimmer of hope? She wasn't sure if she could trust this man. But deep down, she felt an undeniable urge to unburden herself. And for some reason, that person was William Davis, a man she had only just met under these unlikely circumstances. "My story," Olivia began, her voice still trembling, "started a long time ago, when I was just a child." William listened in silence, his eyes fixed on Olivia's expressions. He realized that behind her resilience and strength was a young woman carrying wounds far heavier than her years. Her voice was soft, yet it carried an inner strength that was impossible to ignore. She spoke of a childhood filled with poverty, the hardships and injustices her family endured, the shattered dreams, and the unhealed scars of the past. When she reached the part where her mother died from illness because they couldn't afford treatment, Olivia's voice choked, and her eyes welled up with tears. William felt an unfamiliar ache in his chest. He had never known such struggles. His life had always been paved with privilege, every door opened with ease. But listening to Olivia, he realized that the world wasn't just made of luxury and success. It was also filled with suffering he had never truly noticed. I hate rich people, Olivia continued, her voice breaking, because they live in luxury, never understanding the pain of the poor. They look down on us, treat us as insignificant, not worth their concern. You think I'm one of them? William asked quietly, his voice tinged with sadness. He didn't feel anger at Olivia's accusations. Instead, he felt an unfamiliar sense of shame. Had he too unknowingly dismissed those around him simply because they lacked wealth and status? I don't know, Olivia admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. But I've met too many people like that. They are rich and powerful, yet their hearts are empty and selfish. William fell into a contemplative silence. He studied Olivia, realizing that he was standing at a crossroads, a rare opportunity to reflect on himself, to change his perspective on the world. This defiant maid with her piercing gaze might be the person who could make him see life in a way he never had before. Olivia, William said, his voice gentle yet firm, I'm sorry for everything you've been through. I can't change the past, but I can help shape the future. I want to help you. Olivia looked at him again, her eyes still filled with doubt, but also that flicker of hope. Help me? She repeated, as if the words themselves were foreign. You want to help me? Yes, William affirmed, his gaze unwavering. I want to help you move forward, to have a better life. If you allow me, I'd like to be your friend. William's offer stunned Olivia. Friend? A billionaire like William Davis wanted to be friends with a lowly maid like her? Could this even be real? Or was it just a dream, an illusion her mind had conjured? I don't know what to say, Olivia stammered, her emotions in turmoil. Don't say that, William interrupted gently. Everyone deserves happiness, and I believe you do too. He stepped closer, extending his hand, an open, sincere gesture. Give me a chance to be your friend, Olivia. Let me understand you. Olivia stared at William's hand. His skin was smooth, his grip strong, so different from her own rough, calloused hands. She hesitated for a moment before slowly reaching out, placing her hand in his. A light touch, yet it carried a silent promise, a strange connection between two people from vastly different worlds. In that quiet moment, between suspicion and hope, between distance and closeness, something unexpected had begun to take shape. A bond that had the potential to transcend all barriers, all prejudices, and alter the course of both their lives forever. But where would this relationship lead? Would it be a love story filled with beauty, or a tumultuous journey fraught with hardship and pain? No one could predict the future, but one thing was certain. From this moment on, neither William nor Olivia's lives would ever be the same again. The handshake between them wasn't just a polite gesture, it was an unspoken promise, the beginning of an unforeseen journey filled with challenges and discoveries. William's curiosity about Olivia had evolved beyond mere intrigue. It had become a deep desire to understand and connect with this remarkable woman. And Olivia, though still cautious, could not deny the strange stirrings within her. Their fateful encounter had opened a new door, leading them into a world of emotions, passion, and unforeseen dangers. Could they overcome the barriers between them? Or would the weight of their differences and the expectations of society pull them apart? The answer remained unknown. But one thing was certain, the journey ahead for William and Olivia would be anything but ordinary. The handshake between William and Olivia ended their unexpected conversation in the bathroom, but it opened a new, challenging chapter in their relationship. William, accustomed to women readily falling into his arms, experienced rejection for the first time. Yet, instead of discouraging him, that rejection only ignited a fierce determination to win her over. In the days that followed, William sought every opportunity to approach Olivia. He found excuses to meet her at the mansion, inquired about her work, and even tried to spark conversations about her personal life. He hoped to break through the icy barrier surrounding Olivia and discover the real person hidden behind her cold and resilient exterior. But Olivia maintained her distance. She responded to William politely, yet always with brevity and formality. Her gaze remained calm, unfazed by the special attention from her employer. Every time William attempted to draw closer, Olivia skillfully stepped back, creating an invisible wall between them. Her indifference left William bewildered. He was used to admiration and pursuit. A mere glance or smile was usually enough to make any woman swoon. But Olivia was different. She seemed completely unaffected by his wealth and power, entirely uninterested in the attention he lavished on her. For William, this rejection was an entirely new experience. It frustrated him, yet simultaneously awakened a deep curiosity and attraction. He couldn't understand why Olivia remained so indifferent. Was she truly uninterested, or was she merely hiding her real emotions? The more Olivia avoided him, the more determined William became to win her over. He was not one to give up easily, especially when faced with a challenge. Her aloofness only convinced him that beneath her cold exterior lay a hidden gem, waiting to be discovered. William decided to change his approach. Instead of exerting power and dominance, he opted for sincerity and respect. He asked about her work with genuine interest, listened carefully to her thoughts, and sought ways to assist her in her daily challenges. He soon realized that Olivia was a strong, self-respecting woman. She neither wanted pity nor charity, especially from the wealthy. If he truly wanted to win her heart, he had to prove that he saw her not just as a mere maid, but as an independent individual worthy of respect. One afternoon, William happened upon Olivia in the mansion's library. She was standing by a bookshelf, engrossed in a thick novel. He stepped closer and greeted her gently. "Olivia, do you enjoy reading?" Startled, Olivia turned around, momentarily surprised to see William. She nodded slightly, her voice still reserved. "Yes, sir. I like to read in my free time." "What genres do you enjoy?" William asked, attempting to engage her. "I like novels," Olivia replied, glancing at the book in her hands. "Especially stories about love and life." "Then why don't you visit the library more often?" William inquired in a casual tone. "There are plenty of great books here. You can find anything you like." Olivia hesitated before answering. I don't have much free time, sir. The work at the mansion keeps me busy." "I understand," William nodded sympathetically. "But I believe everyone should take some time to relax and enjoy life. You should set aside a little time for yourself, Olivia." She looked up at him, a flicker of surprise in her eyes. She hadn't expected someone as busy as William Davis to notice such small details about a maid's life. "Thank you, sir," Olivia said, her tone slightly softer. "I'll try." "How about this?" William suggested as an idea struck him. "I have a few great novels that I think you'd enjoy. Let me bring them to you." Olivia hesitated, a hint of doubt in her eyes. I wouldn't want to trouble you, sir." "It's no trouble at all," William smiled. "I'd be happy if you read them. I'll bring them to you tomorrow, all right?" Olivia was silent for a moment before giving a slight nod. "All right. Thank you, sir." William smiled, satisfied. He felt as if the icy wall Olivia had built around herself had begun to thaw, just a little. But even a small breakthrough was a promising sign. He believed that if he remained patient and sincere, he could win her heart. The next day, William carefully selected a few classic novels he personally cherished, ensuring they matched Olivia's preferences. Along with the books, he included a small note, expressing his wish to share his love for literature with her. When Olivia received the books, a flicker of surprise and emotion crossed her face. It was the first time she had received such a meaningful gift from someone of William's stature. In that moment, William Davis no longer seemed like a distant, powerful employer, but someone much more approachable and genuine. From that day on, their conversations grew longer. They discussed books, life, dreams, and aspirations. William gradually discovered that Olivia was not only strong and independent, but also intelligent, thoughtful, and kind-hearted. She was much more than she appeared on the surface. The more time he spent with Olivia, the more drawn to her he became. Her initial rejection had transformed into a catalyst, intensifying his feelings for her. He no longer pursued her out of mere pride or habit, but because he truly admired and cared for her. Yet, William knew winning Olivia's heart wouldn't be easy. She was not someone who trusted easily, especially not those from the wealthy and powerful world she had always resented. To be with her, he would have to prove that his feelings were genuine and steadfast. And William Davis, a man accustomed to getting everything he wanted, was ready for the challenge. Olivia's rejection did not deter him, it only fueled his resolve. He embarked on a silent battle, not with wealth or influence, but with patience and sincerity. Would he succeed in breaking down Olivia's defenses and winning her heart? Or would her rejection remain an insurmountable barrier, keeping them forever apart? The answer lay ahead, in the unpredictable twists and turns of their stormy love story. During the days he spent approaching Olivia, William gradually sensed the complexity and depth of her soul. Olivia's initial indifference slowly gave way to more open conversations, and her guarded gaze softened. William believed he was beginning to break through her icy exterior, taking step after step into her inner world. Late one evening, long after everyone else had left, William remained in his office, buried in work. The frustration of a stagnant investment project kept him from focusing. To clear his mind, he decided to review the new employee records, a habit that helped him stay informed about the company's workforce. As he skimmed through the list, one name unexpectedly caught his attention: Olivia Davis. They shared the same last name. A mere coincidence, or was there something more to it? Curious, William opened Olivia's file. Basic information appeared before him. Olivia Davis, housekeeping staff, struggling financial background, supporting a younger brother and an ailing father. Nothing particularly remarkable. But as William scrolled down to the family information section, one line made him freeze, his heart pounding wildly. Family once owned Marie Enterprises. Marie Enterprises? The name struck him with an eerie familiarity. William searched his memory, and suddenly a painful recollection, an infamous scandal in the Davis family's history, rushed back like a flood. Marie Enterprises, a once formidable competitor in the cosmetics industry, had been abruptly forced into bankruptcy a decade ago after a highly questionable acquisition. And the mastermind behind that ruthless takeover was none other than his father, Christopher Davis. A cold shiver ran down William's spine. He could hardly believe his eyes. Olivia Davis, the maid he had been trying to win over, was the heir of Marie Enterprises, a victim of his father's merciless schemes. His hands trembled as he turned the pages, desperately seeking more information. The emotionless words on the file felt like daggers piercing his heart. Olivia's family had lost everything after Marie Enterprises collapsed. Her father, once a successful businessman, had been completely devastated, his health deteriorating rapidly. Olivia, once a privileged young lady, had been forced to shoulder the burden of her family, taking on any job she could to survive. And now, Olivia Davis was working in the Davis family mansion, serving the son of the man who had ruined her life. What cruel irony! William had been captivated by Olivia, drawn to her in ways he hadn't fully understood. But now, he felt an overwhelming sense of guilt. He saw himself as a hypocrite, an opportunist, exploiting Olivia's hardship for his own selfish desires. He had often wondered why she looked at him with such unyielding resentment. Now he knew. That hatred wasn't just for him. It was for the entire Davis family. For his ruthless father. William sat motionless in his chair, his mind blank. He didn't know how to process this truth. He didn't know how to face Olivia. He had once thought that the only difference between them was social status. But now, he realized their divide was far greater. It was a chasm carved by betrayal, by painful history, by an unerasable enmity. He recalled Olivia's sharp words, her disdain for the wealthy and powerful, her contempt for those who looked down on the less fortunate. At the time, he had dismissed it as the defiance of a strong-willed woman unwilling to bow to fate. But now he understood. Her words weren't just resistance. They were cries of anguish, echoes of deep, unresolved pain. He remembered her unwavering, fearless gaze, the surprising composure she had displayed even in their most awkward encounters. Now he understood. Her strength wasn't cold indifference, but a shield, a defense against a world that had shown her nothing but cruelty and injustice. William wondered, did Olivia know about the connection between their families? Probably not. If she did, she would never have agreed to work here. She would have sought revenge long ago. But she hadn't. She was merely trying to survive, to support her brother and father. The realization only deepened William's guilt and shame. He had thought of Olivia as a mysterious and enigmatic woman. But now he saw that she wasn't a mystery at all. She was simply a victim of circumstance, a young woman who had suffered unbearable loss and hardship. And it was his family, his own father, who had inflicted that suffering upon her. For the first time in his life, William Davis felt utterly powerless. He didn't know how to make amends, how to undo the damage done, how to look Olivia in the eyes, knowing he was the son of the man who had destroyed her family. He wanted to tell her the truth, to apologize on his father's behalf, to find a way to make things right. But he also feared that revealing the truth would drive Olivia away forever, that her resentment would turn into an impenetrable wall, separating them completely. William sat in the darkness, drowning in guilt and helplessness. He had no idea what to do next. All he knew was that meeting Olivia Davis had changed his life forever. And now he had to confront a painful truth, a past filled with shadows, and a love that might never be possible. The revelation of Olivia's past struck William like a devastating blow, leaving him lost in a whirlwind of emotions. The brutal truth of their intertwined histories had created a chasm between them, one that seemed impossible to bridge. Would he have the courage to face Olivia and the painful reality of their past? Could he find a way to atone for his father's sins and mend the wounds in Olivia's heart? Or would this truth haunt them forever, driving them toward inevitable tragedy and separation? Their future had never seemed more uncertain. The days following the revelation of Olivia's past were filled with inner turmoil for William. Guilt and helplessness weighed heavily on his heart, robbing him of any sense of peace. He longed to face Olivia, to apologize, to make amends, yet the fear of rejection, the fear of hurting her once again, held him back. One late afternoon on the weekend, William aimlessly drove through the familiar streets of the city. The heaviness in his heart made him reluctant to return to the mansion, where Olivia's presence seemed to linger in every corner, a constant reminder of his family's sins. As he stopped at a red light at an intersection, his gaze unintentionally drifted toward a park across the street. And then he froze. Among the gathering of homeless individuals beneath the ancient trees, William spotted a familiar figure. Olivia. She was with a group of young volunteers, busily preparing and distributing charity meals. The golden hues of the setting sun bathed her delicate features and raven-black hair in a warm glow. Dressed in simple clothes, Olivia exuded a pure and radiant beauty. William pulled over to the side of the road, quietly watching her from a distance. He had never seen her like this before. She was not the cold, distant maid of the Davis mansion, but an entirely different person, lively, compassionate, and full of warmth. With swift yet gentle movements, Olivia distributed food, water, and supplies to the homeless. She asked about their well-being, offered words of encouragement, and listened to their sorrowful stories with sincere attention. Her eyes shimmered with deep empathy, her soft smile never fading. The homeless gathered around her, accepting her offerings with gratitude and reverence, looking at her as if she were an angel, a benefactor in their bleak world. William silently took it all in, his heart stirring profoundly. He had never imagined Olivia to be so kind, so noble in spirit. Within the walls of the Davis mansion, she had always been reserved, shielding herself behind a mask of indifference. But here, among the destitute and forgotten, she shone brilliantly, revealing the full beauty of her pure soul. He watched as she tenderly cared for an elderly man, gently wiped away the tears of a wandering child, and patiently listened to the grievances of a man who had lost all hope. Every gesture, every action radiated sincerity, compassion, and unconditional love. For the first time in his life, William Davis felt small. He, a powerful billionaire, a man admired by the world, suddenly seemed insignificant and empty before this young woman who had nothing but a heart full of kindness. He realized that his wealth and status were meaningless compared to Olivia's noble soul. He had conquered countless women drawn to him for his money, his fame, or his social standing. But Olivia was different. She remained untouched by the material world he ruled. She did not care about his riches or his power. She cared only about the person he truly was, about his heart. And now, that very heart was pounding fiercely in his chest, overwhelmed by her goodness. William understood then that he was not just drawn to Olivia for her uniqueness and resilience, but also for her boundless compassion. She was not just a strong woman. She was someone with a heart overflowing with love, always ready to share and uplift those less fortunate. It was this very quality that made him admire and cherish her even more. He realized that Olivia's resentment towards him was not about wealth or privilege. The anger in her eyes was not envy or greed, but outrage at injustice and suffering, a deep sympathy for the downtrodden. And this very passion, this empathy, only deepened his respect and affection for her. He wanted to approach her, to tell her that he had finally seen her true self, that he admired and loved her not just for her outward beauty, but for the extraordinary heart she possessed. He wanted to apologize for the wrongs his family had inflicted upon hers, to make up for all the pain and losses she had endured. Yet, he hesitated. The truth of the past loomed between them like an unbridgeable chasm. He feared that Olivia would never forgive him, never accept his feelings. He feared that he might end up hurting her once more. But William knew he could not remain a distant observer forever. He had to act, had to show Olivia that he was not just a cold, arrogant billionaire, that he was capable of love, of cherishing the goodness in life. He wanted to prove that he was worthy of her, that he could bring her happiness. Determined, William stepped out of his car and walked toward Olivia. He needed to see her, to speak to her too. Show her that he had changed, that he had come to understand her true essence, and that he loved her with all his heart. As he drew closer, Olivia looked up, her eyes flashing with brief surprise upon seeing him. But this time, they no longer held the coldness and guarded distance of before. Instead, there was a softness, a quiet trust. And was that a hint of anticipation? William offered her a gentle smile, his heart racing. He knew this moment marked a turning point in their relationship, and he hoped, more than anything, that this turning point would lead them toward a brighter future, one where love and kindness would triumph over past pain and resentment. Witnessing Olivia's kindness had utterly captivated him. He saw in her not just a strong and independent woman, but a soul of gold, someone who lived for others. This realization transformed not only his perception of Olivia, but also of himself. What had begun as mere curiosity had blossomed into deep admiration and profound love. His feelings for her had never been more intense, more genuine. Would he find the courage to confess his love? Would Olivia accept his heart, overcoming the barriers of the past and the weight of their history? Their love story, filled with struggle and emotion, still had many chapters left to unfold. Witnessing Olivia's kindness and noble heart, William could no longer evade the truth about his family's past. A deep sense of guilt compelled him to act, to do something to atone for the mistakes his father had made. That very night, William began a secret investigation into the downfall of Maid Enterprises. He utilized every resource at his disposal, the best lawyers, top financial experts, and even secret connections within the business world. He meticulously combed through old documents, scrutinizing every figure and financial report from Maid Enterprises from a decade ago. William was determined to uncover the truth behind the shady acquisition and to fully understand his father's true role in the downfall of a once great family. Days of investigation passed in tension and exhaustion. William barely ate or slept, his mind constantly haunted by Olivia's sorrowful stories of her painful childhood. The deeper he delved, the more horrified he became by the level of ruthlessness and deception involved in the takeover. His father, Christopher Davis, was not merely a competitor. He was the mastermind behind the collapse of Maid Enterprises. He had used every means available, from underhanded business tactics to insider trading and ruthless financial sabotage, to drive the company into bankruptcy. The realization struck William like a crushing weight. The wealth and power his family now enjoyed had been built on the suffering and loss of Olivia's family. He felt ashamed and disgusted with himself, knowing he was the son of such a merciless and unscrupulous man. Many sleepless nights followed. William lay awake, Olivia's face constantly appearing in his mind, her deep brown eyes filled with unspoken sorrow, her gentle smile tinged with sadness. He imagined Olivia from 10 years ago, an innocent and carefree girl, living in luxury and the warmth of family love. Then, in just one night, everything was taken from her. Her family torn apart, their legacy shattered, and her dreams crushed. From a refined young lady, Olivia was forced to become a maid, shouldering the burden of her family while living in hardship. William's heart clenched painfully. He grieved for all that Olivia had endured, the humiliation, the struggles, the silent suffering she had to bear. He asked himself how a young girl like Olivia had managed to survive such cruel trials. How? Had she preserved her kindness and noble spirit despite the adversities? The stark contrast between his privileged life and Olivia's hardships filled William with guilt and self-reproach. He had once lived in a blissful ignorance, indulging in the luxuries of his family's fortune, unaware that his happiness had come at the cost of another's suffering. He had once taken pride in his family's power and influence, oblivious to the dark and disgraceful history behind it. But now, he was determined to right the wrongs of his family. He could not change the past, but he could shape the present and the future. He wanted to restore what Olivia's family had lost, to compensate for the pain she had endured. Most of all, he wanted to prove to her that he was not like his father, that he was a different man, a man capable of remorse and love. William carefully devised a plan to rectify the consequences of the past takeover. He searched for legal documents, gathered solid evidence of his father's unethical actions, and consulted top lawyers and corporate takeover specialists to find the most lawful and effective way to return Maid Enterprises to Olivia. He knew the road ahead would be challenging. Reviving Maid Enterprises after a decade of ruin was an almost impossible task. But William refused to be discouraged. He was willing to face any obstacle, to do whatever it took to make amends. He wanted Olivia to see that his remorse was real, that his desire to make things right was genuine. As part of his investigation, William also looked into Olivia's current life. He learned that she was carrying the burden of her family, working tirelessly to pay for her father's medical treatments and support her younger brother's education. He realized that Olivia had sacrificed her dreams, her youth, for the sake of her loved ones. This knowledge only deepened his sorrow and admiration for her. William did not want to help Olivia only financially. He wanted to support her emotionally as well. He longed to share her burdens, to offer her a brighter future, to show her that she was not alone, that he was there, ready to stand by her side, to protect and cherish her. One evening, after gathering all the evidence of his father's misdeeds, William decided to meet Olivia. He knew this would be a turning point in their relationship. He felt anxious, uncertain, but also hopeful. He wanted to tell her the truth, to apologize, and to express his feelings for her. He made his way to the small room where Olivia stayed in the mansion. His heart pounded as he knocked gently on the door. Slowly, it creaked open, and there she stood, her eyes widening in surprise at the sight of him. Bathed in the warm golden glow of the room's light, Olivia looked more beautiful than ever. William took a deep breath, gathering his resolve to finally speak the words he had been holding in his heart. His journey of uncovering Olivia's past had taken him through painful realizations and emotional turmoil. He had seen the depth of his father's cruelty and the extent of Olivia's suffering. His determination to atone and make things right had only grown stronger. But how would their meeting unfold? Would William be able to convey his sincere remorse and love to Olivia? And would Olivia find it in her heart to move beyond the pain of the past and accept his feelings, the love of a man whose family had caused her so much suffering? The answers awaited in the next chapter of this poignant and dramatic tale. When Olivia's small room door opened, William gazed deeply into her dark brown eyes, trying to decipher the emotions hidden within. He did not plead for forgiveness. He knew that an apology at this moment would be too easy, too meaningless. Instead, he wanted to act, to prove his remorse through concrete actions. "Olivia," William spoke, his voice warm and gentle. "I know you have a lot you want to say to me." Olivia remained silent, her gaze still scrutinizing William, but the hostility and resentment that once burned in her eyes had faded. She saw a different William, not the arrogant, cold man she once knew, but someone sincere and concerned. This subtle change unsettled her. She had believed she would forever despise this man, forever hate the Davis family. Yet now, that hatred seemed to be dissolving, replaced by a complex and undefinable emotion. "What do you want from me?" Olivia asked, her voice soft but no longer icy. "I want to talk to you," William replied, his eyes never leaving hers. "I want you to understand what really happened and what I intend to do to make amends." Olivia furrowed her brows, skepticism still etched on her face. "Make amends?" she echoed, her tone laced with doubt. "Do you think you can undo the damage your family has done?" "I know the past cannot be changed," William said firmly. "I cannot erase the suffering your family endured. But I can change the future. I can do everything in my power to make amends, to ensure that such things never happen again." William's promise left Olivia stunned. She searched his deep blue eyes for deception, for any sign of manipulation. But all she found was sincerity and determination. Could it be that William Davis truly wanted to atone, to make things right? "What do you intend to do?" Olivia asked, curiosity overtaking her caution. "I've started investigating the downfall of Marie Enterprises," William said seriously. "I want to uncover the full truth, to expose my father's wrongdoings. And I want to find a way to restore Marie Enterprises, to return to your family what was taken from you." Olivia's eyes widened in disbelief. "Restore Marie Enterprises?" she repeated, her voice trembling. "Is that even possible?" "I'm not sure," William admitted honestly. "But I will do everything I can. I will use every resource, every connection at my disposal. I know this is an incredibly difficult task, but I will not give up. Because I want to prove to you that I am not like my father. I want to atone for the past and give you a better future." William's words were like a warm breeze, melting the ice in Olivia's heart. She had believed her life would forever be consumed by darkness and hatred. But now, a glimmer of hope was emerging, because of the very man she had once despised the most. "Why are you doing this?" Olivia asked, her voice choked with emotion. "Why do you want to help me?" William looked deep into her eyes, his gaze filled with profound sincerity. "Because I cannot ignore what you've been through," he said, his voice full of emotion. "I have seen the real you, Olivia. I have seen your strength, your resilience, and your kindness. I admire you, Olivia. And I want to give you everything you deserve." William's words sent Olivia's heart into turmoil. Never before had she heard such genuine, heartfelt words from any man, especially not from William Davis, the man she had once considered her enemy. Could it be that William was truly different from what she had thought? Could he really want to atone and make things right? Olivia felt herself wavering. The hatred within her still existed, but it was no longer as intense, no longer as absolute. William's transformation, his sincerity in both words and actions, was slowly dismantling the walls she had built around herself. She could not deny that her heart was beginning to respond to his unexpected kindness. Yet, her mind still urged caution. He was still the son of her family's enemy, still a part of the wealthy and powerful world she had always despised. I don't know if I can trust you," Olivia said, her voice tinged with doubt. "I have trusted too many people before, and in the end, they all betrayed me." "I understand," William nodded, his expression empathetic. "You have every right to doubt me. I don't expect you to trust me right away. All I ask is for a chance to prove my sincerity. Watch my actions, Olivia. See what I do to make things right, and then decide for yourself whether I am worthy of your trust." Olivia fell silent, her gaze dropping to the floor, as if searching for answers within herself. She was truly torn. A part of her still wanted to hate William, still wanted to push him away. But another part, one that was vulnerable and yearning for kindness, wanted to believe in him, to give him a chance. "I need time," Olivia said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I need time to think." "I understand," William replied, offering a gentle smile. I will wait until you are ready to trust me. But please remember, I am here. I am ready to help you, to listen to you, and to love you." William's final words made Olivia snap her head up, her eyes wide with shock. "Love me?" she repeated, her voice shaking. "Yes, Olivia," William said, his gaze unwavering. "I love you. I love the real you, your strength, your resilience, your kindness. I love everything about you." Olivia remained silent, her heart pounding wildly. No one had ever spoken such words to her with such raw sincerity. And the one saying them was William Davis, the man she had once loathed, but who now stirred emotions within her that she could not control. Was fate playing a cruel trick on her? Or was this truly an opportunity? An opportunity to move past her painful past and find happiness in the arms of this man? Olivia had no answer yet, but she knew one thing for certain. Her fateful encounter with William Davis had changed her life forever. And the road ahead, though filled with obstacles and uncertainty, also held the promise of hope and unexpected revelations. William's vow to change the future, along with his silent yet sincere actions, had shaken Olivia to her core. The hatred she had clung to for so long was slowly dissolving, making way for confusion and a whirlwind of emotions. His unexpected declaration of love was like a warm flame, gradually melting the ice around her heart. Could Olivia overcome the barriers of the past and her own prejudices to open her heart to William's love? And could William truly fulfill his promise, right the wrongs of his family, and bring happiness to Olivia? Their love story, fraught with trials and deep emotions, was reaching its turning point, promising moments of intense drama and unexpected twists yet to come. The promise to Olivia of a better future was not just empty words. During the days of investigating the dark past of Marie Enterprises, William gradually formed a strong determination to reform Davis Corporation from its very roots, transforming it from a ruthless profit-driven machine into an ethical and socially responsible enterprise. This decision did not come easily. William wrestled with his thoughts for a long time. He knew that eliminating unethical dealings and supporting small businesses that had been oppressed by Davis Corporation would result in significant financial losses and could even threaten the company's market position. He also knew that these decisions would face fierce opposition from shareholders and executives who were accustomed to maximizing profits at any cost. But the image of Olivia, her kindness and resilience, constantly urged William forward. He could no longer live in wealth and power built on suffering and injustice. He wanted to create a new Davis empire, one that was not only financially strong, but also morally upright and humane. He wanted to prove to Olivia that he was worthy of her love, that he could become a better man than his father. On a Monday morning, William called for an emergency board meeting. The major shareholders and executives of Davis Corporation gathered, their faces tense and curious. They did not understand why William had summoned such an important meeting at this sensitive time, just as the company was preparing to announce record-breaking quarterly earnings. William entered the boardroom, his expression serious and determined. He did not exchange pleasantries, but went straight to the point. Ladies and gentlemen, William's voice resonated in the silent room. Today, I have called this meeting to announce an important decision, one that will completely change the direction of Davis Corporation. The room fell into a hush, all eyes fixed on William, waiting for his next words. I have conducted a thorough internal investigation into the company's operations over the years, William continued, his voice slow but firm. And I have uncovered some troubling truths. We have achieved great financial success, but we have paid too high a price. We have ignored ethical values, crushed small businesses, and caused significant harm to communities and society. His words exploded like a bomb in the boardroom. The shareholders and executives were stunned, unable to believe what they were hearing. They could not understand why William, the sole heir of Davis Corporation, would utter such treacherous words. "William, what are you saying?" An elderly shareholder, John Harrison, spoke up, his voice filled with anger. "Are you trying to destroy everything your father worked so hard to build?" "I am not destroying," William replied, his tone calm. "I am rebuilding. I am creating a Davis Corporation that is stronger, more sustainable, and more ethical." "Ethical?" A young executive, Peter Wilson, scoffed. "Does ethics increase our profits? Does ethics help us compete with rivals? Or is it just a luxury for the weak?" "Ethics is not a luxury," William countered, his voice firmer. "Ethics is the foundation of all sustainable growth. A company without ethics, no matter how powerful, is merely a castle built on sand, destined to collapse." "So what are you planning to do?" Another shareholder, Emily Carter, asked skeptically. "Are you going to cut unethical deals? Support small businesses? Do you realize what kind of consequences these decisions will bring?" "I do," William responded, his gaze sweeping across the room. "I know these decisions will lead to short-term profit declines. But I believe that, in the long run, they will bring greater benefits to the corporation. They will help us build credibility and trust with customers, partners, and the community. They will help us attract the best talents, those who share our values. And more importantly, they will allow us to sleep better at night." "You are dreaming," Harrison shook his head, disappointment evident on his face. "You are sacrificing shareholder interests for some lofty, unrealistic ideals. I cannot accept these decisions." "I understand," William said, his tone unwavering. "I know not everyone will agree with me. But my decision is final. Davis Corporation will change. We will no longer be a company that only chases profit. We will become a corporation that takes responsibility for society, one that truly contributes value to the community." William paused, scanning the room, his gaze resolute and fearless. "I know the road ahead will not be easy. We will face many challenges and obstacles. But I believe that if we stand together, if we put in the effort, we will overcome them all. We will build a greater Davis Corporation, one that is ethical, sustainable, and respected." After William's speech, the boardroom fell into a deathly silence. The shareholders and executives remained in shock, still struggling to process his bold and unconventional decisions. Some reacted with anger and fierce opposition, others with doubt and anxiety, while some stayed silent, observing, waiting to see what would happen next. William knew that the real battle was just beginning. He would face intense resistance from within the company, people who were deeply entrenched in the old ways of doing business, powerful forces who thrived on manipulation and greed. But he was not afraid. He had Olivia by his side, faith in ethical values, and the determination to change the world, even if only in a small way. He would fight to the end, to uphold his decisions, to build a new Davis Corporation, and to prove himself worthy of Olivia's love. William's decision to reform Davis Corporation sent shockwaves through the business world. The fierce backlash from shareholders and executives was only the beginning of a grueling power struggle. But William stood unwavering, ready to face any challenge in his quest to reshape the future and prove his sincere love for Olivia. Would William succeed in his battle for reform? Would he overcome the internal opposition and transform Davis Corporation into an ethical and humane enterprise? And would his efforts be enough to win Olivia's complete trust and love? The story was far from over, promising even more intense and unexpected developments ahead. A heavy silence enveloped the conference room following William's bold reform declaration. The shareholders and executives were still in shock, and murmurs began to rise like a beehive stirred. Just as the tension reached its peak, the conference room doors suddenly swung open. A middle-aged man with an imposing presence stepped inside, his every gesture exuding authority. Christopher Davis, William's father, founder, and the emblem of Davis Corporation, had arrived unannounced, rendering the entire room speechless. "Christopher!" Mr. Harrison, an elderly shareholder, gasped. "You're here at this moment?" Christopher didn't respond. His sharp gaze swept across the room before settling on William, who stood upright, facing him. A disdainful smirk curled on Christopher's lips. "I heard my son is carrying out a grand reform here." Christopher's deep voice carried an unmistakable note of sarcasm. "I was curious to see just how grand it is." William clenched his fists, striving to maintain his composure in front of his formidable father. He had anticipated this confrontation. There was no avoiding it. Though he had braced himself for Christopher's fierce reaction, his father's sudden appearance still sent a wave of tension through him. "Welcome to Davis Corporation, Father," William replied, his voice steady, unfazed by his father's oppressive gaze. "I'm glad you came to witness the changes I am implementing." "Changes?" Christopher sneered, stepping closer, his tone growing sharper with ridicule. "Are you referring to eliminating unethical deals and supporting small businesses? William, do you even understand what you're doing?" "I understand perfectly, Father," William answered, his gaze unwavering. "I'm trying to correct the mistakes Davis Corporation has made, the mistakes you made." William's words were like a bucket of ice-cold water thrown directly at Christopher. His smirk vanished, replaced by a surge of anger. "You're crossing the line, son," Christopher growled, stepping even closer, his voice laced with menace. "You're disrespecting me in front of everyone." "I have no intention of disrespecting you," William said, his tone calm but his eyes turning steely. "I am merely stating the truth about unethical transactions, the truth about the small businesses crushed under Davis Corporation, and the truth about the downfall of Marie Enterprises." The entire room held its breath, the air thick with tension. Everyone knew Christopher Davis was a ruthless, domineering man, someone no one dared to challenge. But William, his own son, was standing up to him, defending his own ideals and decisions. "Marie Enterprises?" Christopher let out a derisive chuckle, his voice dripping with contempt. "You're still hung up on that bankrupt company? William, you're too weak. There's no place for weakness in this world. Business is war, the strong survive and the weak perish. That's the rule." "I don't believe in that rule, Father," William replied, his voice firm as steel. "I believe in ethics, in compassion, in fairness. I believe a company can succeed without exploiting others, without sacrificing moral values." "You're naive," Christopher shook his head, his expression filled with scorn. "Do you think you can change the world? Do you think you can turn Davis Corporation into a charity? William, you are destroying yourself and our family's fortune." "I don't care what you think," William shot back, his voice more resolute than ever. "I don't need your approval to do what I believe is right. I am the one running Davis Corporation now, and I will take full responsibility for my decisions. I will correct your mistakes, and I will build a Davis Corporation that I can be proud of." Christopher was momentarily stunned by his son's defiant stance. Never before had William dared to confront him like this. In Christopher's eyes, William had always been an obedient son, one who followed orders without question. This sudden transformation left him both bewildered and furious. "You," Christopher began, but the words caught in his throat. He stared into William's eyes and saw an unshakable determination. He realized his son had truly changed. He was no longer the weak, submissive boy of the past. At that moment, Olivia stepped into the room. She had been invited by William to witness this crucial meeting, to see firsthand the changes he was striving for. Standing quietly at the door, she observed the tense confrontation between father and son. She had overheard everything, the clash of ideals, the unwavering resolve in William's voice. A surge of indescribable emotion swelled within her. She had once doubted William, had once refused to believe in his transformation. But now, watching him stand fearlessly against his formidable father, defending his principles and beliefs, Olivia wavered. Her gaze lingered on William, no longer filled with skepticism, but with surprise, admiration, and perhaps a touch of emotion. She realized that William Davis was not just a wealthy and powerful businessman. He was a man of integrity, conviction, and courage. For the first time, she began to believe that William had truly changed, that he was genuinely trying to redeem himself, and that he might just deserve her love. Christopher noticed Olivia's presence at the door, and for a brief moment, his expression faltered. He understood that her being here was no coincidence. William had wanted her to witness this. Christopher exhaled, his gaze on William softening slightly. "Very well, William," he said, his voice losing some of its harshness. "I'll wait and see what you can accomplish." But remember this, if you fail, don't say I didn't warn you." With that, Christopher turned and strode out of the conference room, leaving William and Olivia standing in the silence that followed. The room remained deathly quiet, everyone watching William with anticipation. William turned to Olivia, his eyes warm and tender. He said nothing, only offered her a small, sincere smile. And in that smile, Olivia saw honesty, determination, and an undeniable depth of love. For the first time, she truly believed William Davis had changed. And maybe, just maybe, there was a future for them after all. This face-off with his father had solidified William's transformation. He was no longer a passive heir but a decisive leader, willing to defy family traditions in pursuit of ethical values. Seeing William's courage and conviction, Olivia's doubts began to fade, and she slowly opened her heart to him. However, the battle for reforming Davis Corporation was far from over, and the relationship between William and Olivia still had many obstacles ahead. Would their love be strong enough to withstand the trials to come? And could William fulfill his promise to reshape the future, redeem his family's past, and build a new, ethical, and humane Davis empire? Their dramatic journey of love and ambition was only just beginning, with unexpected twists and challenges still awaiting them. After his confrontation with his father, William threw himself into reforming Davis Corporation with all his passion and determination. He knew the road ahead was long and fraught with obstacles, but he was not alone. By his side was Olivia, the woman who had awakened in him both compassion and a burning desire for change. Though Olivia maintained a certain distance from William, the coldness in her eyes had faded. She no longer looked at him with hatred and suspicion, but with quiet observation, scrutiny, and at times curiosity. She was no longer certain about her feelings. The hatred she had been so sure would last forever now seemed to be dissolving, making way for a more complex, unnamed emotion. She witnessed the drastic changes William was bringing to Davis Corporation. He kept his promise to eliminate all unethical dealings, willingly sacrificing short-term profits to build a more sustainable and ethical business. He established a fund to support small businesses that had once been crushed by Davis Corporation, giving them a chance to recover and thrive. He publicly apologized to the victims of past ruthless dealings and vowed never to let such mistakes happen again. William's actions not only left Olivia bewildered, but also made a powerful impression on Davis Corporation's employees, the media, and the business community. Many doubted his sincerity, dismissing his reforms as mere PR tactics to restore his reputation. But Olivia, who understood him better than anyone else, knew that he had truly changed. He did not beg for forgiveness, he simply acted, proving his remorse and commitment to change through his deeds. One afternoon, Olivia received a call from William, inviting her to attend the inauguration ceremony of the Davis Corporation Small Business Support Fund. She hesitated at first but eventually agreed. She wanted to see, for herself, the changes he had made, to understand the new man he had become. At the event, Olivia stood in the crowd, silently observing as William took the stage. He spoke about Davis Corporation's dark past, the mistakes his family had made, and his determination to make amends. He did not evade responsibility, did not justify his father's actions, but instead, he openly acknowledged the wrongdoings and promised to build a better Davis Corporation. His words were heartfelt and moving, silencing the entire room. Olivia watched him, her heart pounding. The man standing on that stage was no longer the arrogant and ruthless William Davis she once knew. He had become a man of integrity, responsibility, and deep compassion. He had truly changed. After the ceremony, William approached Olivia, his eyes filled with warmth and tenderness. "Olivia," he said softly, "thank you for coming." She gave him a small smile, meeting his gaze. "You did well," she said sincerely. I'm honestly surprised." "This is just the beginning," William replied, his eyes looking toward the horizon. "There's still so much more I need to do. I want to build a Davis Corporation that both you and I can be proud of." Olivia was silent for a moment before speaking slowly. "William," she said, her voice gentle but firm, Maybe I was wrong about you." William turned to look at her, hope and joy flickering in his eyes. "Are you saying?" "I don't hate you anymore," Olivia continued, her tone still hesitant. I'm starting to believe that you truly want to change. And maybe I was wrong to think that there could never be anything between us." Hearing her words, William's heart swelled with happiness. He knew Olivia was not yet ready to fully trust or love him, but this was a significant step forward, a sign that the door to her heart was beginning to open. Olivia. William gently took her hand, his gaze filled with love. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I can't erase the past, but I promise to do everything I can to make amends, to prove that I'm worthy of a second chance. Please, give me a chance, Olivia. Give us a chance to start over. Olivia looked down at their joined hands, feeling the warmth and sincerity in his touch. She searched his deep blue eyes, seeking the answer in her own heart. And then she realized hatred and resentment would never bring her peace. Only love and forgiveness could heal the wounds of the past and open the door to a brighter future. She nodded softly, a gentle smile forming on her lips. All right, William, she said, her voice filled with hope. Let's give us a chance. William tightened his hold on her hand, his heart overflowing with joy. He knew the road ahead would still be full of challenges, but with Olivia's love and trust, he believed he could overcome anything. He and Olivia, two people from entirely different worlds, had found each other in a fateful encounter, stepping together into a new beginning, a future filled with hope and love. From the ashes of the past, a seed of hope had sprouted. William Davis, once a cold and ruthless billionaire, had transformed into a leader of integrity and compassion. Olivia, once a maid burdened by hatred and pain, had found forgiveness and love in the arms of the man she once despised. Davis Corporation, once a merciless profit-driven machine, had evolved into a socially responsible enterprise, bringing real value to the community. The story of William and Olivia was a story of transformation, redemption, and the power of love and kindness. A new beginning had dawned, promising a future filled with happiness for them both.